Hello, I'm KMA Sports Operations Manager and the KMA Sports Hall of Fame founder, Derek Martin. Welcome to the first and hopefully only completely virtual KMA Sports Hall of Fame ceremony. A year ago, for the first time, we brought our entire Hall of Fame class for one big ceremony for one night on a celebration of their greatness. We heard great stories, terrific memories, and we quickly decided we wanted to do it again. Unfortunately, due to COVID-19, it wasn't in our best interest this year to get everyone together in one spot. So, with the advent and advances of technology and with the genius of Ryan Matheny, we have this. I want to thank all of the members of the 5th KMA Sports Hall of Fame class for working with me in putting this together, as well as all of the presenters that you'll be hearing from here over this next however many minutes or hours. And thanks to them for dealing with my constant texts and rolling with all of the punches of what we've been dealing with here over the last year. Soon you'll see videos of our Hall of Fame, our Hall of Famers, officially accepting induction. You'll hear stories of their greatness from their presenters, and you'll get a chance to learn about the impacts they made to earn their honor. But first, in this year's Hall of Fame, we are excited to honor 6 teams that did some amazing things. There was the 1970 Fremont Mills football team. They were unbeaten, didn't allow a single point in their final 8 games. This group, coached by the great Buck Riley and his trusted assistant, Carl Leffingwell, and along with the 1971 group, set a state record with 13 straight shutouts. We were excited to honor this team and their greatness in October. The 1971 Farragut girls basketball squad. They need no introduction. Under the direction of their head coach, a KMA Sports Hall of Famer in his own right, Leon Plummer, and assistant Max Livingston, Farragut made their 7th state tournament trip since 1959 that year. This group will forever be immortalized as the greatest, as they were the 1971 state champions, picking up an incredible and, for many people, unbelievable 67-60 win over Mediapolis. We're hoping to officially honor this group in the near future. The 1990 Logan Magnolia football team. The Panthers outscored their opponents by nearly 37 points per game on their way to an undefeated season and the school's first state championship. They won 51-0 over Stuart Menlo, 22-0 over Trainer, 25-13 over Mallard, and 33-13 over Madrid during a magical and dominant playoff run. We honor this group in October. The 1991 Orion-Maxburg softball team, a Cinderella story for the Bulldogs, who advanced to the state tournament for the 4th and most recent time in their history. Led by legendary head coach John Dunleavy, OM made the 16-team all-class state field that included the likes of Ankeny, the eventual state champion, West Des Moines Valley, plenty of other big schools, and little tiny Orient-Maxburg. We hope to honor this group later this summer. And the 2000 and 2001 Shenandoah baseball teams. Kevin Whitehill's Mustangs made an unprecedented run to back-to-back state tournaments. When Whitehill took over in 1998, Shenandoah baseball had not posted a winning season in 17 years. That all changed in 2000 and then again in 2001. Led by the arm of Ryan Griebert and the bat and overall defensive abilities of Brandon Bray, 2 All-Staters, the Shenandoah baseball team will forever be remembered for their great runs to state. We hope to honor that team, or those teams, later this summer. Now, let's get to our list of 15 individual KMA Sports Hall of Famers. We start with former Riverside state champion Lauren Anderson Sinner. She captured numerous state medals during her track career, and it included a pair of state championships in 2006. Sinner ran to a win in the 100-meter hurdles, finishing just ahead of her sister Shay, and then teamed with Shay to win the shuttle hurdle relay championship. Sinner was also a 3-time Drake Relays qualifier. She would go on to a great career at Simpson, winning indoor conference championship in 2011 in the 55-meter hurdles, while also competing in the long jump, triple jump, pole vault, and multiple other hurdle events. To help welcome Lauren into the KMA Sports Hall of Famer, her sister, and yes, the state runner-up, Shay Mattingly.
Hi everyone, my name is Shay Mattingly and I will be introducing my sister Lauren Sinner, formerly Lauren Anderson. I first want to congratulate all the other inductees today and just say what great accomplishments you all have achieved, and it's so fun listening to the interviews and the stories of your careers, so congratulations. So my sister asked me to present for her. Well, I guess I should say she told me. She said, I already told Derek you were doing it, and honestly it was between you and Dad. And we both agreed that my dad trying to do a Zoom video would be rough on everyone involved. So here I am, and I'm honored to be doing it. So being the younger sibling, I've always wanted to be like my big sister ever since we were little. So when Lauren went out for track, I went out for track. When Lauren ran hurdles, I ran hurdles. I don't think I even would have been in track if it weren't for her. So I have her to thank for that. So when we were in high school, our high school didn't have a track. We trained only 4 hurdles at a time because that's all we had room for in the commons. We practiced handoffs on the sidewalk in the park. And we really didn't complain about not having a track. It was just, we did what we could do. And honestly, I think we kind of wore it as a badge of honor, beating other teams that were able to train on a full track. I'm only going to tell 2 short stories because I know you would all rather hear from Lauren than from me. But one of my favorite stories is from a cinder track meet. It was the week before state, and we were in the finals for shuttle hurdle, and Lauren was our anchor leg. And anyone who's run on a cinder track, you know how awful it is. And Lauren happened to wipe out and get up and still finish the race and win the race. And the girl in the lane next to her was not happy. And she called Lauren some not so nice names, but all jokes aside, that I think just speaks to Lauren's determination and her drive to win. My second favorite story is from state meet in 2006, and I think Lauren might talk about this too, but I can't tell you what it feels like getting a front row seat to watching your sister win the state title and being right behind her placing second. It's still one of my most favorite memories, and we still actually watch the tape and we tear up every time we watch it. And just knowing that she was third going into finals, I think shows again her determination. And, I think that lit a fire in her, and there was no stopping her from winning that race because, trust me, I tried. Lauren may be inducted into the Hall of Fame for her accolades, her many track meet wins, her conference wins, her state wins, and for all of her success on the track. But what you don't know is she deserves this for a bigger reason. She truly changed the culture of Riverside track. Riverside wasn't really known for track, and we were always okay, but after state her freshman year when she placed second, I think we were all like, oh, okay, we can be good. We can do this, and she pushed everyone to be better. She pushed our entire team to be better. And by the time that I got into high school, it was just an expectation to win. Obviously, there are a ton of variables that went into our success, like great teammates, great coaches, great environment. And I don't think we would have been nearly as successful without Lauren. She was a leader. She blazed the way for us to follow. She was a great teammate, always willing to do things for the team and for me, like forcing me to warm up even though she knew how much I hated it. She knew how to work hard and still have fun at the same time, and she made track as enjoyable as it could be. So Lauren, congratulations on being inducted into the KMA Hall of Fame. You deserve this. Thank you for your determination, your grit, and for lighting a fire for Riverside track. I'm so proud of you, our family's so proud of you, and Riverside is so proud of you. Congratulations, sis.
Hi there, I'm Lauren Sinner, formerly Lauren Anderson of Oakland Riverside. Thank you to KMA and to Derek for this honor. It is a bright spot in this crazy year. KMA holds such a special place in my childhood. In the mornings, we would listen for school closures and for scores and for grain prices. And then on the weekends, we'd listen to the Elephant Shop. Derek sent me the ceremony from last year to get an idea of what to say. And aside from still not really knowing what to say, I'm just incredibly honored to be picked. What an incredible caliber of athletes we have in this small corner of Iowa. So thank you so much for this. Thank you to my parents for their incredible support, to my dad for being our drill sergeant, to my mom for being the soft spot to fall, and to my sister for being the fire underneath of me. A huge thank you to my coaches, to Steve Allen, for believing in me and for all the extra hours you spent with us. I'll never forget the first time I three-stepped through all 10 hurdles. It was in trainer, it was almost dark, and it was pouring down rain. So that was a fun practice. But Mr. Allen made sure we had all the opportunities we could have for school with no track. Thanks again to trainer and Gail Hardigan for letting us use that. To Hannah Harhughes Casey for being such a fun and loving person. She made even the difficult workouts fun. And to the late Mr. McCowan, our bus driver, who was more of a team grandpa and a coach. You could always find him near the near the finish line with his stopwatch and his clipboard. His support was immense. He and his wife actually came and watched me run in college too. So a huge thank you to the McCowan family. And a special thanks to Marv Thompson. Thanks for letting us run with the boys on occasion, even though I think your stopwatch was a little faster for my sister than it was for me, because there's no way she could run a faster 40. Thank you to my teammates who made everything so fun and worthwhile. I never thought I'd miss those long, loud, dusty bus rides, most of which we would pass my dad on his bicycle on the way to the meet. But here we are. I've been to several award ceremonies, not for myself, but for my dad, who is and was an incredible wrestling coach. And I always appreciated stories that the awards recipients told. So here's a couple from our meet in 2006. In our shuttle hurdle, our second leg, Catherine Bentley, I think she hit either the 7th or 8th hurdle and stumbled a bit. And I don't know that she watched the end of the race, because when I took over, I had to catch up a little bit, and we ended up winning. And she hugged me and said, I'm so sorry, I messed up. It's okay, we won. So I don't think she watched the race, but I was feeling pretty proud of our comeback victory there. And the next heat was Burlington, and their anchor was Jenna Caffrey. And I think she had like a 5 hurdle deficit and came back and won. So our comeback was quickly forgotten. Also, in the 100-meter hurdles, the time I ran was the exact same time of the champion in 2A that year. And her name is also Lauren, and she's from Bondurant, and she became my best friend in college. We were known as L squared in the weight room and on the track, and she ended up being like a 10-time All-American, so she was pretty good. My best memory, though, is definitely winning state with my sister getting second. Even though she did sneak the record from me, I'll let her have that win. It was the most joyous, tear-filled hug in my life after that win. But thank you for letting me ramble about my memories, and thanks again to Derek and KMA for this award. And congratulations to all the recipients.
Next, the late and great Austin Ibertowski, the 2011 graduate of Council Bluffs Abraham Lincoln, burst onto the scene in his sophomore season for a single-game record of 451 yards rushing in Sioux City. Ibertowski rushed for over 1,600 yards as a junior, broke the single-season school rushing record in his senior season with 2,078 yards, and scored 39 touchdowns. His greatness, however, was not limited to the football field, as he was one of the state's best sprinters during his prep career. He ran a 10.99 in the 2010 100-meter dash to take the state championship before finishing in second by a hair in the 200. Ibertowski went on to the University of Northern Iowa for 3 years before transferring to Morningside to finish his career. Unfortunately, last June, Ibertowski passed away at the age of 25 while driving on the interstate in downtown Reno, Nevada, where he was living at the time. To welcome Austin into the KMA Sports Hall of Fame, his former high school football coach, Justin Camrad, and accepting on his behalf his parents, Jeremy and Lindsay.
Good evening. My name is Justin Camrad, head football coach at Lewis Central, and it is with great honor that I get to help introduce Austin Ibertowski into the KMA Athletic Hall of Fame. As his coach from 2008 to 2010 at Abraham Lincoln High School, I was very fortunate to see a lot of memorable events both on the football field, in track, as well in the classroom and outside. Austin obviously was an extremely talented and athletic football player that possessed speed, size, and everything that you truly look for in a high school football player. He played running back for us, and also outside linebacker, and would virtually do anything that we ever asked him to do on the football field. He's a kid that absolutely loved the game of football. He would do anything for it. And in 2008, my first year as the head football coach, we knew we had a really special football player. It was around week 6 when Austin was sprung into a role as the starting running back when our senior starter went down, and he took off from there. He had 451 yards rushing in that game to rank number 2 all-time back in 2008. He never looked back from that point on the football field or in anything else that he ever did. Everything was always full speed ahead for him. Always wanting to be the best, always wanting to excel. Over the course of the next 2 years, he would rewrite many of the Abraham Lincoln High School rushing records, which I believe he still has today, as well as track records, winning both the 100-meter dash and medaling twice at state, also in the 200. I think the biggest thing for me was the type of person that Austin was. He would do anything, for anybody, once you got to know him. He respected everybody, yet he was a fierce competitor. I really got to know him over the course of those 3 years, and then after, when his football career would take him to Northern Iowa, and then to Morningside College. Many of his accolades, he was very humble in all of those, but also extremely competitive. And, I to this day, remember many phone calls when he was in college of how much he just truly loved the game of football, loved playing the game, and never really ever talked about individual accomplishments. So he was extremely humble in that aspect. And so, watching him grow and develop, over his high school career and then after is something that I'll truly remember. Being a part of his life and his journey has always been something that I hold near and dear to my heart. And, certainly believe that this honor and this recognition is something that, he would have really believed in and loved. So once again, thank you, KMA. Thank you, Derek Martin, for allowing this opportunity to talk about Austin and his greatest accomplishments at Abraham Lincoln High School.
Hi, I'm Lindsay, and this is Jeremy, and we're Austin's parents. It's an honor to be here today and accept this award on behalf of Austin. I know we all wish he was here to accept this award himself, as he earned and deserves this recognition. We also want to congratulate all of the other inductees. It has been extraordinary being able to experience this with all of you. Also want to thank KMA for putting this on.
Receiving this award for Austin gives us another opportunity to celebrate his accomplishments in his life. Austin was not only a great athlete, he was an amazing person that grew into an outstanding young man. He was passionate and driven. This is why he was so successful as an athlete, and it carried over into his time after college and in his career as an adult. He always wanted to be moving forward, to rise to the top whatever he did. He was never going to settle for average. He wanted more than that. Austin showed a lot of athletic talent at a young age. His speed was hard to miss, whether it was in soccer, track, or football. But his passion was always football. He started playing football at the age of 8, played in the select league during his junior high years, and then, of course, his amazing time during his high school. Some of our best memories are sitting in those bleachers and watching him play every Friday night. Truly amazing, unforgettable night that we will forever cherish. His junior year, Austin took state in the 100-meter dash, another truly impressive accomplishment. He was recruited by the University of Northern Iowa and spent almost 4 years there, and then finished off his athletic career at Morningside College. Austin ended his days in Reno, Nevada, chasing his career and growing his life with his girlfriend, Mandy. It takes a lot of bravery to move all the way across the country to establish himself in life without the security of his friends and family, but that's who he was, fearless. I could never be more proud as a father of the man he had become.
His brother Dalton couldn't be here with us today, but he wanted us to say a few words. I believe there is a distinct difference in a great player and a Hall of Fame player. I still remember running around CB Stadium and watching that 2010 football team like it was yesterday. Now, it is fair to say that anyone watching Austin play in high school knew he was an anomaly. For me, it was normal. Waiting after games because he was getting interviewed, or sitting next to him while he talked on the phone with Kirk Ferentz and Frank Solich was just whatever at the time. I never forgot to tell him he needed to tell them about me too. In my head, it was expected to be at that level. The impact that Austin had on future generations is what set him apart, and is why we are here accepting this today. Overcoming the odds and not being okay with just being okay is what sticks with me to this day, and what set him apart even after his football career was over. I have no problem admitting that my drive to be great was modeled from his playbook, and I think others feel the same way. My family and I thank you for all making this happen, and we are extremely honored. We know he would be too.
Also, our family wants Justin Camrad to know how much he was appreciated by Austin. You were put into a model role in Austin's life, and he viewed you and your family as his own, and we can never thank you enough for that.
I'm now going to share the first memory that comes to mind when I think about Austin's football career. Austin was a sophomore in high school. In that week, they were scheduled to play Sioux City West. I remember it like it was yesterday, getting a call from Austin that afternoon before the game. He just kept going on about not being able to fill Dustin's shoes and how nervous he was. I told him really the only choice he had was to go out there and do what you do, and you got this. Well, I think most of us know how that story ends. Austin ended up rushing for 451 yards, 4 yards shy of the Iowa record set in 1954. I guess the reason why this is the first thing that comes to mind is because once the game was over, Austin was coming out of the locker room, and you could just tell there was something different in his eyes. It's pure joy. He ran over to me, picked me up, swung me around like we had just won the lottery. And that's exactly what it felt like. The next morning, we were sitting in Quick Trip parking lot, and Austin's phone kept lighting up. This was the first instance of seeing firsthand what an overnight local celebrity looked like. I was just in awe of the humility he showed in nearly taking no credit. It was all about team. This is exactly how Austin was even outside of football. It wasn't about just where he was going, but where everyone was going. And to you, Austin, you have made us such proud parents. Even in the afterlife, you continue to amaze us by the impact you have and have had on people that we didn't even know about. It has been a blessing being your mom, and I love you. Thank you.
Toby Franks is the first individual state track champion in Essex history. Before he was done, he would leave the school as its most decorated runner. He won the 3,200 meter state championship in 1998. He doubled up in the mile and 2 mile as champion in 2000. Eventually, he gave up football, which was his dream to play quarterback all of his life, and he joined the Shenandoah Essex cross country team and ran for KMA Sports Hall of Fame coach Ray Graves. He also won a pair of Hawkeye 10 championships in cross country and would go on to a fine track career at Drake University. To welcome Toby into the KMA Sports Hall of Fame, another one of his former coaches in cross country for Shenandoah Essex, Andy Campbell.
Hello, I'm Andy Campbell. I'm the cross country coach at Shenandoah High School. First of all, I'd like to thank Derek Martin and KMA for all that you do for athletics in Southwest Iowa and for establishing the Hall of Fame. To this year's inductees, I want to say congratulations. What an amazing induction class. It is my honor to introduce this next athlete. I've coached a lot of great runners over the years, but none of them have been as dedicated or as decorated as Toby Franks. I'm going to read through some of Toby's accomplishments. I first met him in 1999. I was a first-year cross-country coach. Toby was a senior. He knew way more about cross-country, I believe, than I did. Worked very hard, won every practice that we were in, competed very hard, was truly a winner, truly a champion. I'm going to read through some of his accolades. He was a four-sport athlete. He excelled in baseball, basketball, football, but where he was elite was as a distance runner, both in track and cross country. Toby was a 10-time champion in the corner conference in track, which this was back in the day when you could only run 3 events. He was an 8-time district champion in track. Toby was a 2-time conference champion, a 2-time district champion in cross country, which he only ran cross country 2 years. He currently holds the Essex School records in the 4x800 meter relay, the 800, the mile, the 2 mile. I believe he still holds the corner conference records in the mile, 2 mile, and 800. He was a 3-time state champion. He was cross country all-state as a senior, as well as being an academic all-state performer. He's the only runner in corner conference history to win the A.D. Benson Trophy, which is given to the mile champion every year. He won that as a freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior. So obviously some longevity in his excellence as well. Following high school, Toby went on to Drake University, where he was a 3-year letter winner in both cross country and track, as well as an academic all-conference performer in 2004. A couple stories about Toby. First one kind of speaks to his toughness. My first year as a cross country coach, we're getting ready to run the conference meet in Glenwood. The night before the meet, Toby's not at practice. I asked his teammates what's going on. They said that he was sick, wasn't at school that day. So of course I start to panic. I give Toby a call that evening. He said he'd been battling a fever all day. He's been around 104 for most of the day. Of course, I did my due diligence. I said, hey, Toby, don't feel like you have to run. You know, there's bigger fish to fry down the road at the district meet and at the state meet. And his response was, don't worry, Coach, I'll be there. You know, he was willing to put his team first, showed up that day with the goal of, you know, just trying to lead us to a conference championship, not necessarily worried about winning the meet or even being our first overall runner, but he just wanted to contribute to the team. At the mile mark, he didn't look like himself. Mike Ford from Denison, who's a tremendous runner, and Jeff Davis from Essex, who's Toby's teammate, also a tremendous runner, were about 40 meters ahead of Toby at the mile mark. And if you know the old Glenwood course at all that goes down around the soccer fields following the mile, and I don't know what he did down there, but coming out of about a half mile later, coming out of the soccer fields, all of a sudden Toby was up by 40 meters and never looked back. So definitely a tough, gutsy performer. Always gave his all for his teammates, and just truly a champion. Another story about Toby, state track meet his senior year. He ran for Essex. I was coaching down in Shenandoah with Carol Frost and the late Larry Frost, and we were getting ready to watch one of our athletes compete in the 2 mile. Toby and Jeff Davis were running the mile the race before it. Running the 2 mile the race before. At the mile mark, Toby, I believe, was sitting in 8th or 9th. Carol looked over me and she's like, "What's wrong with Toby?" And I just kind of smiled to myself and I said, just wait, because Toby's one of those guys that thought out every race. He knew who the strong runners knew what kind of pace he needed to establish, and as the race went on, he just kept the pressure on, and those runners in front of him just started to wilt. And by the time he had 100 meters left, there was no doubt who was going to win the championship. His last 100-meter kick was tremendous and brought him home his second state title. He went on that weekend to win the mile as well, to culminate his career with 3 state titles and led his team to a 5th-place team at the state meet. Toby's successes continued after high school. He is a very successful doing scientific research in Iowa City. He married his high school sweetheart, Megan Slater. They have a beautiful family. They have a daughter, Leah, and a son, Bryce, who I'm sure are very, very proud of him as well. Obviously, I feel very blessed and fortunate to have him as a friend. When we get together when he comes back and do some fishing, and like everything else Toby does, he's better than me at that too. So we have a great time together. I feel very fortunate to have had the opportunity in my first year to get to know such a great athlete. He definitely made me a better coach and gave me a chance to see what true greatness looks like. So without further ado, it's my honor to welcome to the KMA Hall of Fame a true friend of mine from Essex, Iowa, Mr. Toby Franks. Congratulations, Toby.
Hey everybody, I really wish we could get together as usual. It'd be great to meet all of the award winners. I'm familiar with the accomplishments of some of you, but I've enjoyed also hearing about others from different eras that I wasn't as familiar with. First of all, I want to thank Coach Campbell for a very nice introduction. I chose him to do my introduction because he's been a good friend of mine for a long time. He's been a great mentor for me and all the boys who have passed through the Shenandoah Essex cross country over the last 20 plus years. He's established quite a legacy in Shan, and I'm proud to have been part of the very first Coach Campbell cross country team in 1999. I want to thank Derek Martin and KMA Sports not only for this great honor, but also for their tireless work covering sports in the region. I think Western Iowa is very lucky to have one of the best sports departments in the Midwest, just a click away on the internet or the radio. So thanks a lot, Derek, and all the other people there at KMA. I'm very humbled and actually somewhat embarrassed, to be honest, to be accepting an award like this. Instead of just honoring my time as a runner on the Essex and Shan Essex cross-country teams, I'd like to think of this as a celebration of a really special era for Essex boys track and field. From about, I think, 1988 to 2000, we won 13 straight conference championships in Essex, something that I'm really proud of, and I think a lot of the people that pass through there should be really proud of. I'm sure they are. I think it's pretty amazing considering it took place under 3 different coaches, so it wasn't one system, it was 3 different coaches, and obviously a whole host of runners that passed through Essex. So I think that's one of the things that I would like to celebrate with my award is all of those conference championships and all of those people who contributed. And so this should be a celebration of a really great era in Essex track and field, and also Shan Essex cross country. A lot of great athletes, a lot of conference championships, district championships, and of course some state championships as well. This honor is really special to me because I love the sport of running, and during this period in my life, the late 90s through early to mid 2000s, I really gave everything I had to the sport. I really did live it, and I breathed it, and everything else you could say along those lines. I enjoyed every part of being a runner. I really did. And of course the races were a thrill, but I think even more so were the workouts. The thing that I really always savored about running was the hardest, grindiest practices. That was the most fun for me. And I think that's one of the things that made me successful during those years. And the people that I ran with successful, they had a similar mindset. Whether it was bad weather or long miles, all the intervals, whatever it was, I really loved those particular workouts. And I love the journey. I love sharing those experiences with my training buddies, especially Derek Perry and Jeff Davis during my high school years. We had a lot of really great memories. I always feel like I have a special bond with them. And I think that we developed that special bond repeat after repeat on the track, usually in 20-mile-per-hour winds or whatever we had going on. And that track in Essex seemed to always be like a wind tunnel. I also want to recognize some of my training buddies in college, like Joel Bork, Caleb Richter, a lot of other guys that I ran with on a daily basis that really pushed me, made me better. This honor is also really special to me because of the way that sports and running really changed my life. I was a soft-spoken kid in the public arena. For me in particular, I can honestly say that I wasn't particularly comfortable in front of crowds. I wasn't comfortable in a lot of situations, social situations growing up. And one reason that sports came so naturally to me is because on the track or the field or the court or whatever it was, I felt like an alter ego came out of me. I felt like the confidence that had been lacking in my everyday life was something that came out of me readily in the sports arena. And so it's a story of finding your confidence and your voice through sports, which I'm sure is very common. And it just kind of reaffirms what we all know about sports and what it does for young kids. And so that's something that I want to celebrate all the coaches who are able to connect with kids on that level and are able to change their lives. And it's something that obviously has really changed my life and made me more confident and more comfortable in my own skin. So kudos to all the coaches out there who are on a daily basis having a positive impact on the runners that come through. So I want to dedicate this award to all my mentors who have helped me learn life-changing lessons along the way. Chris Caskey, my track coach, who I mentioned previously, he saw something in me and turned me into a distance runner when it wasn't something that I had ever planned to do. Andy Campbell, who is as much of a friend to me as a coach, but he's always been a mentor who sets the right example for me and the other runners. Coach Ray Graves, who I had the pleasure of running under during his last year in 1998. To all these mentors, as well as the countless others who have impacted my life throughout the years, I say thanks a lot for helping me find my voice through sports. Also, thanks to my family, my parents, my sisters, especially my wife, my kids. And congratulations to everyone. Thanks for this award, and I'm going to put it up on my mantle. It's going to be a really treasured thing that I have up there. Thanks a lot. Congratulations to everybody else. Bye-bye.
We move to the softball diamond with our next Hall of Famer as we welcome Shenandoah's Brooke Graham Penn. Penn was a great all-around athlete and student, but she really excelled in softball, securing a starting position as an 8th grader and starting for 5 seasons for several very good Shenandoah teams. The 2001 All-State pick, Penn set a new standard for the Phillies with 218 career hits and helped lead Shenandoah to their only 2 Hawkeye 10 Conference championships in 1998 and 2001. The 4-year letter winner in volleyball and state track qualifier in the shot put, Penn went on to play softball at Midland in Fremont, Nebraska, earning several All-GPAC honors. To welcome Penn to the KMA Sports Hall of Fame, her former coaches at Shenandoah, John and Lisa Connell.
It is my wife Lisa and my honor to welcome Brooke Graham Penn into the 2020 KMA Hall of Fame. We wanted to do this video from the field where we had the pleasure to coach Brooke from 1999 to 2002. Brooke was a competitor, whether it was wrestling on the Elks youth program, competing against boys in the punt, pass, and kick, in the weight room, or on the softball field. Brooke gave everything she had. She started as an 8th grader at third base, then played 3 years at shortstop, where she earned second team All-State honors as a junior. Her senior year, we needed a catcher. We decided we could make the team stronger by putting Brooke behind the plate. There was no doubt in our minds that she would meet the challenge and lead the team. As a senior, Brooke became the first player in Shenandoah softball history to earn first team All-State honors. Brooke was our shortstop in the 2001 team that was the first Hawkeye 10 team to go 18-0 in the conference. Not an easy task in the always tough Hawkeye 10. The 2001 team finished 41-4 and fell 1 game short of the school's first ever state tournament on a heartbreaking loss. Brooke received many accolades through her high school career, including a Hawkeye 10 unanimous selection and was a first-team All-Stater. Brooke not only excelled on the diamond, but she was a 4-year letter winner in volleyball, played through her junior year in basketball, and made a trip to state and broke records in the shot put during track season. And she excelled in the classroom, graduating tied for second in her class. It's been almost 20 years since we coached Brooke, and to this day when we think of Brooke, we remember a shortstop who had many collisions at second base with runners trying to steal, a uniform that was always dirtier than anyone else's, an impossible over-the-shoulder catch to save a game against Red Oak, a girl who took 300 practice swings every night in front of a mirror before going to bed, and a person of great character for 2 coaches' kids to look up to as a role model. Brooke went on to play softball at Midland. She and her husband Nate live in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, where she is a financial analyst. They have 2 children, Lily and Kaya. Lisa follows them on Facebook, and both little girls are in Ninja Warrior training. When you look up the definition of Ninja Warrior, it says to combine agility, speed, strength, momentum, precision, and balance to overcome obstacles in various environments. That's exactly what we'd expect from Brooke and her girls. We're sure if Brooke had had the opportunity to be a ninja warrior in her younger days, she would have jumped at the opportunity, and there's no doubt in our minds she would have been successful. Congratulations, Brooke, and welcome to the KMA Hall of Fame.
Hello. I hope everyone is enjoying the evening. I'd like to thank Derek and the KMA for hosting this and selecting me to join their Hall of Fame. I'm very honored to be inducted. I'd like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Connell for all their time and commitments that they had provided during my time in Shenandoah. Mrs. Connell was always pushing and encouraging me to perfect my skills. I remember all the extra grounders and cuts that they would stick around after practice for. I can also remember all the conversations about how to pitch our opponents and analyzing footage of my swings. You were a big part of my success. Mr. Connell was always the one who encouraged me to enter the weight room and was always pushing me to get stronger. So thank you very much for being great coaches. I would also like to thank my teammates and the community of Shenandoah. This honor wouldn't have been possible without you. I was fortunate to play alongside some great players, and we had a great community following. Playing with the fans in the cornfield behind us will always be one of my favorite memories of softball. Finally, I'd like to thank my parents, my siblings, and my grandparents. You were always supporting me in my dream to play college ball. I remember the evenings you would open up the middle school gym to get extra practice in. You spent many hours on the road to watch me play with both my high school team and my travel team. You never complained and helped me obtain my goals. I will always be grateful for that. One last thing. Congratulations to all the other inductees tonight.
Former Exira Elkhorn Kimballton wrestling great Evan Hansen is up next. The first ballot Hall of Famer just finished up a 4-time national championship career at Grandview last year. However, today we are honoring his greatness as a 2-time state champion in high school. Hansen was the 145-pound state champ in 2013 and then later captured the 182-pound championship in 2015. To help welcome Hansen into this year's class, we go to his former youth wrestling coach, Rick Anderson.
Hi, I'm Rick Anderson, wrestling coach. I'm privileged to be able to present Evan Hansen to you today for this KMA Hall of Fame award. I was just blessed to be able to coach Evan in his younger days, through high school, be involved in his life. I just have so many memories of him. And it all started maybe back when he was just in kindergarten. Here he comes to our wrestling club practices, and his parents came in and asked, he's only in kindergarten, do you think he could start? And we thought, well, if you come along, we'll see what happens. Can't promise anything, but bring him along. I tell you what, it wasn't but a couple practices, and he had so many questions, so many things. He stayed attentive. He knew exactly what he wanted to try to learn, everything there was. And it wasn't very many more practices. His parents didn't need to come along. He was that kind of a kid that just really wanted to learn and know things. He always was that kind of kid. He always wanted to learn. He always wanted to learn and know more. He learned from several other coaches along his way. He wasn't just a product of my teaching, my school. He went to everywhere. He went to several different other wrestling clubs, like I say, along his way, and camps, and I encouraged him to get as much as he could. He built a really strong base of his knowledge, of his understanding, his dedication all came from there. And he's accomplished much, even when he was really young to whenever he's got up into high school, wherever I really kind of got to be around him a lot more and involved in him. He started out just a little scrappy kid, freshman kid, 113 pounds in high school. Struggled along the way trying to keep that weight down, but he was able to do that. Ended up qualifying for state. Didn't place that year. Probably could have with the right opportunities. Maybe a little bit of a sickness there right before state tournament held him back just a little bit. He lost a really close match against some really good kids. Probably had opportunity there to be a place winner, maybe even a state champ at that time. His sophomore year, he came up, he had grown up to 150 pounds, and we kind of was thinking, well, Evan, you're going to have to do some weight cutting this year. And he says, nope, I'm going to 145. And we really couldn't talk him out of it. His dad, Dale, was one of my coaches. He said, let's let him do what he wants to do. And he proved it to us. He proved it all year long. He got to the state tournament and just won match by match. Some close matches, some hard-fought matches, but all the way along, and ended up being state champ that year. He proved to us he was a fighter. He could do what he wanted. He had his mindset, and he had confidence. I tell you, whenever he went into that state title, that very first state title he won, he went into that tournament. He was just so relaxed. And whenever he walked out on that mat, he took ownership of that mat like I've never seen anybody take ownership of that mat. And he strutted out there, and I looked over at his dad before that match even started. I says, "We got this thing won." You could just see it in his face. You could just see the confidence he had, and he was going to win. It gave me confidence, and it gave his dad confidence, and he ends up winning that thing. The following year, he took another growth spurt. Everybody's talking about it. All of a sudden, Evan's up to 182 pounds. Can he handle the big jump in weight? And he's ranked number 1 all year long. Had some really good matches throughout the year. That year, actually wrestled number 1 Evan against number 1 2A wrestler Cash Welke in a tournament during the year. That year, it really showed that Evan is capable of doing 182, and he proved it. He beat him in overtime in that tournament. Really good match. I mean, people still probably talking about it. You can probably still find it today. It was one of those matches that both wrestlers put their all and all into it. And somebody had to come out victor. It was a really hard-fought match. We went on from there and got into the semifinals of that year in that tournament. Evan ran into a really stout, strong wrestler, not going to take anything away from anybody, and he respects him totally, but he just could not finish his takedowns on him. Ends up getting a high ankle sprain in that match. Had to give it up, and he wouldn't give it up, but he ended up not winning that match. He came back the next day with a high ankle sprain, limping onto the mat. There's nobody going to stop him from wrestling the next day. Nobody, not doctors or anybody. He went out there. He said, I can shoot left-handed because I can't drive off my right foot. And he did just that. Ended up winning his 2 matches for the day and got 3rd place. Came back the next year, ranked number 1 at 182 again his senior year. Don't think he was ever even scored on that year. Wrestled all the way through. State champ easily. Had every bit of confidence. I was 100% confident in that whole year. I never lost confidence in Evan after seeing him do what he can do. He just was that type of person. He wasn't arrogant. He just had a type of confidence that he knew he could do good, and if he made a mistake, he would go work on it, and he'd figure it out. He could self-teach himself things that would it's just another quality he had about himself, just to be able to self-teach and self-motivate himself, and it didn't take much to keep Evan focused and going in the right direction. Anyway, I've been privileged to be able to be involved in some of these things that Evan has been, his accomplishments. So proud to be able to look on to his future whenever he was able to go on to Grandview and decide to wrestle there. Ended up having 4-year national championship. 4 years. That's an amazing feat. And then he's also wrestled on the national level, wrestling big name people that you only hear about in the Olympics and such, and he wrestled right with them. He has enough confidence. He walks off the mat knowing that he could have beat that guy, or he could compete against that guy. He knows he's at that level where he can compete against anybody and has that kind of confidence still. His body has taken a few injuries along the way. He's had a few mishaps along the way. Don't know where his future is going to go with wrestling, but whatever he decides to do, he's going to be able to be that type of person that's going to accomplish great things, just from his confidence level, and he could be a great coach. He could be just a great person in life, and I'm just so proud of him, so proud to be able to be involved with him. I just thank his parents, Dale and Gina Hansen, who put a lot of effort and a lot of time and a lot of energy into him, and we got to be really good friends with them, me and my wife, and we did a lot of things together. Also, it takes a family affair. He had a sister, went to a lot of tournaments, sat through a lot of tournaments, and along the way, and it takes everybody to be able to raise somebody up and keep them that motivated and that focused. But Lord has shined on Evan. He has done great things, and I'm just like I said, I can't say enough that I'm more than privileged to be involved with him, and I just thank KMA for this award and for shining spotlights on these type of athletes. Thank you.
How's it going, everybody? I just want to say that it's a great honor to be a part of the KMA Land Hall of Fame. I never thought that I'd be a part of this elite group of athletes and coaches. It's an incredible feeling, and it means a lot to me to be a part of the class of 2020. I have a lot of people that I would like to thank for helping me get to where I'm at, but there's a lot of people that have helped me, and if I don't mention their name, it's not that they didn't help me enough. It's just these are the names that came off the top of my head. Some of the names include Keith Massey, Trent Travis Paulson, Chad Tunick, Nick Mitchell, Paul Reedy, Ross Larson, Rick Anderson, and all my family members, but especially my parents and my sister, as they stuck by me and pushed me to be my best. I couldn't even be where I'm at today without them, because that's just, they didn't have to do that, and that's something that I'll never forget. Everyone in my life has had a valuable impact on me, but someone other than my family members who stood out to me is Rick Anderson. And for those of you that don't know Rick, he was my high school coach. In fact, he was my coach from the time I started in kindergarten. I had one coach named John Noon for 1 year, and then ever since then, Rick Anderson was my coach all the way through high school. He was a biggest support for me, and at times went above and beyond what is asked of a coach in order to help me and to reach my goals on and off the mat. A story that I remember is after going into my senior year, the summer between my junior and senior year, Rick paid out of his own pocket to take me out to Greensboro, North Carolina to compete at the U20 Super 32 national championships. And of course, in typical Rick fashion, he didn't tell me until 2 days before the event. So I had no time to train and really no time to cut weight, but he took me out there nonetheless, and I did my best, and he was there supporting me, and and there to coach me and help me along. But anyway, I officially got started wrestling when I was in kindergarten with Elkhorn Kimballton Little Danes Wrestling Club. But at that time, they didn't allow you to wrestle until you were in first grade. But with a bunch of talking to people and convincing it by my parents, they allowed me to wrestle there under the conditions that my parents had to be at every single practice. And if I messed around too much, they were just going to kick me out of the program for that year. And that was something that I took very seriously. And they never had any problems. My parents went to every single practice, mostly because they wanted to learn with me, because neither one of my parents wrestled. The only person in my family that wrestled was my uncle, Neil Anderson. And other than that, for the most part, my family members, if they played a sport, it's been basketball. So shout out to my parents there for going through that. But from there, I moved on to Little Children Wrestling Club in Atlantic, and the goal there was to just get some more coaching and figure out different ways of doing things and get some more partners and try to get to another level. And then I quickly realized that I'm not just going to be able to bounce from school to school. So my parents did what they had to get me to a little kids wrestling club. And that private club ended up being Golden Eagles out of Underwood under the direction of Keith Massey, where I owe a lot to Keith. He really got me to that next level. And, I was with him until I was like 6th or 7th grade, maybe even 8th grade, when he decided to move to the East Coast. And then I was kind of caught in a catch-22 situation and decided that I wanted to continue to improve, and I really wanted to try and work on some freestyle wrestling. And so at the time, like Swift Wrestling Club and all these programs that you see right now in Southwest Iowa or in KMA land, they weren't around. And so I decided to go to High Altitude Wrestling Club out of Martinsville, St. Mary. And that's a 2-hour drive one way. So I'd go there once or twice a week, and in order to pay for those practices, I would have to run camps for High Altitude for free. And that would be my payment for those practices. And that was under the direction of Chad Tunick. So that really got me to another level yet. And I was with High Altitude Wrestling Club until I got to college. And then looking back at my career, I'm astounded at what I was able to accomplish. Because I did not do things right when I first started, especially in the high school realm. As a freshman, I cut to 113, and I was cutting weight the wrong way. I was weighing like 126, 130, somewhere in that area. And I cut to 113, but I didn't do it the right way. And I'm talking nachos and Snickers and donuts every day, and Mountain Dew, and all the stuff that makes it harder and sticks to your body. And that wasn't easy. And of course, my coaches told me, including my dad, who was one of my coaches in high school, told me that if I just do it the right way, it wasn't going to be that difficult. But I didn't listen. I was kind of somebody that thought they knew it all. And when I got to the state tournament my freshman year, I kind of threw my matches just because I didn't want to wrestle anymore. I didn't want to have to weigh in the next day. And I'm not saying that those guys aren't good wrestlers. They're great wrestlers, but who knows what would have happened had I not went into in that tournament with the mindset that I was going to lose. Maybe I still lose, who knows, but that's something that I'll never be able to find out. And my work ethic wasn't always good. And from that day, from the time that I realized, like, hey, I'm right here with these guys, and if I do this the right way, I can really make an impact. things started clicking for me, and my work ethic got better and better, and I started showing up to school at 4 a.m. to get a workout in and then go get help with my classes. And so on a team of 6 guys, I really had to do a lot of extra work and really push myself. And that wasn't easy to do all that extra stuff as a high school kid that would have rather been doing other things. But I set my goals, and I was determined to reach them under any circumstances. I wasn't going to not reach them, and I surely wasn't going to have that same regret that I had from my freshman year. I was going to do everything I could, and if I still lost, I lost, but at least I gave it everything I had. But with that, I ended up winning 2 state titles under Elkhorn. One my sophomore year and one my junior year. My junior year, I kind of slipped up a little bit and decided that in my head I was better and I didn't have to work as hard. And I was trying to prove a point that I could do less and still win because I was just naturally gifted. And that wasn't the case. I got to the state tournament and I lost in the semis. I got manhandled. And from that moment, I did not let that happen again. And even in college, that's part of what drove me through my time in college as well, where I decided that this is not going to be something that stops me ever again, but also it's not going to be something that defines me. It's that's going to push me to be better every single day. But perhaps one of the most important things I've learned throughout my journey is that you need to be grateful for all the opportunities, because at some point everybody's told when to quit, and you don't know if that's going to be when you're in your 20s or when you're 40s. But everybody's told. Everybody's got that time frame where they can do athletics, and you got to make the most of it. But you're also not guaranteed to wake up tomorrow either. So you got to give everything you have today and whatever you do, so that way you're not holding anything back, and you're not taking what you have with you when you leave. And hopefully along the way you're able to give somebody else some motivation and inspire somebody else to do the same or do more than you. And I hope I've done that throughout my high school and college career, and even my senior level career as well. But I just wanted to say once again, thank you for this amazing opportunity to be selected among the KMA land all-time greats. It's something I'll cherish for a very long time. And thanks for listening to me. I hope you guys who are out there with this whole COVID thing are safe, and God bless.
One of the most impressive stretches of success in KMA Land girls basketball history was engineered by one Tom Heidoff. The former St. Albert girls basketball head coach won 279 games and led his team to 5 state tournament appearances between 1994 and 2000. The Saints won their first state tournament game in 1997 and then played for the 2000 state championship, losing a tight battle with North Cedar. Heidoff now works as an assistant coach under Coach Dick Weddengale for the St. Albert girls hoops program, which returned to state last winter for the first time since 2000. To welcome Coach Heidoff into this year's KMA Sports Hall of Fame, his daughter and a former KMA Land Volleyball Coach of the Year, Katie Darrington.
Hi, my name is Katie Darrington, and I have been given the privilege and honor to introduce Coach Tom Heidoff to the KMA Hall of Fame. Coach Heidoff's legacy began in 1981, where he was an up-and-comer in the Omaha Groves Catholic men's basketball program. Tom moved through the ranks of the sophomore team, the JV team, and very quickly found himself the head freshman coach. He astounded fellow coaches by winning games in the Metro League, a feat which had always been out of reach in past years. In 1986, Tom brought the Cougars to play at St. Albert Catholic High School in Council Bluffs. Being a graduate and a former player at St. Albert, Tom was overwhelmed with nostalgia. After an impressive win, Tom received a call from Father Kiernan insisting that Tom interview for the head position. Little did Tom know, but he was interviewed for the girls' head position. After long consideration, Tom accepted the job. He felt it was his time to give back, and his 2 young daughters would hopefully one day become his players. The girls' program at St. Albert left much to be desired. There wasn't any money for decent uniforms or transportation to games, and the girls were only allowed to practice at the dreaded 8 to 10 p.m. slot. At the time, the majority of the state played 6-on-6, and although the Saints played 5-man, they had a reputation as a club team who just played for fun. Tom realized quickly that someone needed to fight for these girls and help them find a sense of empowerment. And so Tom's legacy began. 16 straight seasons of winning records, 11 straight district championships, 1992 through 2002, 5 regional champions with 4 in a row in 1994 through 1997 and in 2000. 5 state appearances in 94, 95, 96, and 97, and a state runner-up finish in 2000. His postseason record is 40-18, and he was District Coach of the Year in 94 and in 2000. He was the Nebraska Centennial Conference champion in 2000 and 2001. He was the first Council Bluffs team to have an undefeated regular season record, not once but twice, in 2000 and 2001. He was the first Council Bluffs girls team to go to state in 5-man in 1994. And he's had over 280 wins in his 19 years. Having been lucky enough to play for Coach and to be as a JV assistant for 6 years, I was able to witness a passion very few people have. I still use life lessons Coach taught me as a player, and the things I learned as his assistant coach are immeasurable. However, I would be remiss if I didn't talk about his legendary humor. For example, he put a player in for the first half of the free throw, only to take her out for the second free throw. He had mounted a huge comeback against the team, and at that point, with seconds left in the game, he had no more timeouts. But the other coach helped him out by calling that timeout, at which point Heidoff jumped up and yelled "thank you" at him. Heidoff was known for his voicing his opinions at officials, and his most memorable moment was, "How long is 10 seconds in Nebraska?" From cracking jokes with players to top 10 lists at pep rallies, Heidoff used his humor to reach every player. Coach was so good at trusting his players and making sure they understood the game that drawing up a new play in the middle of a game was our normal. To the casual observer, it would look like scribbles, but to us, it was the winning game plan. And in fact, the hell with it play won us a district championship with a half-court buzzer beater. After the 2006 season, Coach Heidoff retired. His decision was not easily met, especially with his love for coaching still present. Seeing a need for help in the junior high program, Coach took on the 8th grade girls team in 2008. He rediscovered his passion for teaching and the joy of the youth's willingness to learn. So when the opportunity to help rebuild the Saints program as the varsity assistant for the 11 and 12 season presented, Coach took it without hesitation. Saints basketball is still his baby, but this time around he gets to be the grandpa. And he has just begun his 10th year in that role, following another state trip in the 2019 season. Needless to say, Heidoff coached with passion and fire, and lived by the philosophy of you can't coach people you don't love. And that philosophy has been my own mantra as I just finished my 20th year of coaching. I'm proud to say I'm Coach Heidoff's daughter, and I'm proud to say I became a coach just like him, just like my dad. And on behalf of Coach's supporting wife of 46 years, Joyce, his youngest daughter Annie and husband Greg, and their 2 daughters Ellie and Andy, and son Brady, my husband Sean, and our 2 children Lexi and Thomas, we are proud to say Coach Tom Heidoff gave SA girls a reason to believe in themselves. He installed a sense of pride and courage that they never knew they had. He changed the lives of many student athletes and formed countless bonds with his players. Our Papa Saints will always be the heart of Saints basketball. And it is my honor to hand my coach and my dad his Hall of Fame KMA award. Coach Tom Heidoff.
Thank you, sweetie. I really want to thank KMA for this award. It comes at a time in my life where I really truly do appreciate it, because it is a representation of a lifetime of working in this field. I thank you, Katie, for all your kind words and everything that you said. And she spoke on behalf of her younger sister, Annie, who lives out of town, and also for my wife, Joyce. I do want to thank them all. It was a family situation where all of us were able to participate in one way or another in all the wins that we had throughout the time. So thank you very much, family. I want to thank all the assistant coaches that I had throughout the time. Special mention to Pat Kroll for her 13 years with me during those 19, and also Katie helped me coach, and Gary Rendoni. I can say that I started 50 years ago as a 17-year-old senior that coached his parish team. And from that point on, I continued to coach wherever I could. And when I went to college and got out of college, of course, I started my coaching career from the high school level. I want to thank all my coaches at Gross High School in Omaha, where I coached for 6 years and really learned most of what I really knew about basketball from them. It is ironic that a lot of people think they can coach, but, and I hate to break it to you guys in the stands, you can't. Coaching is a career, and it takes everything you've got to learn everything you can. And from that standpoint, I can say that even out of those 50 years, even though I was only a head coach for 19 of them, I wouldn't trade it for anything, because I was well prepared to take over the job. And I felt like I had seen everything that I could possibly see, and was able to adapt to that and adapt the girls to that. When I came here to St. Albert, I didn't know about coaching girls much. I thought, I don't know. It took a few years, but eventually it really got into coaching just like you would the boys. I mean, you get in there and you teach them their system and go. Once they got the system, we were on a roll. And that's what I really appreciate. I appreciated how smart the girls were when it came to basketball. I appreciate their ability to adapt to tough situations, and I appreciated their support. You know, I can't even hardly remember a time where any team, let alone an individual player, didn't go along with what the idea for the team was. So I have to give that all to my players. A coach is a person who directs. A coach is the one who takes everybody's opinion and makes it one. But the coach doesn't shoot, doesn't score, doesn't rebound, doesn't hustle, do all those things. The players do. So many of them who are now mamas and have children of their own, and I'm coaching some of the children of some of my players. To all of them, thank you so much for everything that you've done for this school and given for this school. And St. Albert has been a wonderful place for me, and I will always be a supporter of St. Albert and the Saints. And I'm very grateful to Coach Wettengale for allowing me to be part of the staff, and I'm still enjoying that. And that's the final word I want to say, is that if you find something you love, do it. But if you still love it after 50 years, you made the right choice. So thank you, KMA. I appreciate this award, and I appreciate everything that you've done for me. Thank you.
We move now to Tri-Center legend Karen Jennings. Big Red was a first-team All-Stater in 1988 and 1989, averaging 55.5 points per game as a junior, 59 as a senior. In all, she would finish as one of the highest-scoring players in KMA land history, accumulating 3,903 points during her prep career. Jennings led Tri-Center to state tournaments in all 4 years of her high school career, playing 6-on-6 basketball. Now, her adjustment to 5-on-5 at Nebraska wasn't much of an adjustment. She was the Big 8 Newcomer of the Year in 1990, made first-team All-Big 8 in the next 3 seasons, and claimed first-team All-American honors and the Wade Trophy for the country's most outstanding player in her senior season. She was also a first-team Academic All-America in her final 3 years of college and is a College Sports Information Director Association Academic All-America Hall of Famer. Today, though, we welcome her into the KMA Sports Hall of Fame. To help us, a former one-on-one opponent and also a Tri-Center legend in his own right, Kevin White.
As a high school student at Tri-Center, I remember watching a tall, gangly, red-headed junior high girl walking through the school lobby each morning. I believe she wore a brace for her back for a time. No, I did not believe then that I was watching someone who would go on to become the Wade Trophy winner as the best player in Division I women's college basketball. But that's what Karen Jennings did at Nebraska. Karen was tall, yes, 6'2", but she was not necessarily naturally gifted. She made herself better by outworking everyone else. She wasn't afraid to play countless one-on-one games with her brother, who was 6'4" and outweighed her significantly. She wasn't afraid to jump in pickup games with the boys, something I wish more girls would embrace. She always had a hunger to improve her skills. Karen averaged 55.5 points as a junior and 59 as a senior in the old 6-on-6 game. Only 4 Iowa girls ever averaged more in a season. Denise Long, who was drafted by the Golden State Warriors. Lynn Lorenzen, who went on to become the nation's leading scorer, boy or girl, with 6,736 points. Jan Jensen, who led all of Division I women's college basketball in scoring one year at Drake. And Jeanette Olson, who scored 76 in that same state championship game that Denise Long had 64. Pretty good company. Karen routinely scored with 3 girls draped all over her. But she knew that she needed her teammates, and she was a great teammate. To illustrate this one night, my father and her coach, T. Gary White, asked her to take on the freshman team by herself. She, of course, accepted, and then my dad handed her the ball when she was standing out of bounds. Of course, she had no one to throw the inbounds pass to. Point made. Karen has always had a thirst for learning, whether it be in her academics as a student, her legendary athletic career, or her professional life as a successful real estate agent. That's what aspiring athletes can learn from her story. It is my distinct honor to present the latest inductee into the KMA Hall of Fame, Karen Jennings of Tri-Center.
Good evening. My name is Karen Jennings, and I'm getting inducted into the KMA Sports Hall of Fame tonight. I was originally from Tri-Center High School, graduation 1989, and I would like to thank a few people. First of all, I'd like to thank Jesus Christ for giving me the abilities to play basketball. Second of all, I would like to thank my parents, Jim, who was a college basketball player and taught us the fundamentals of sports. I'd like to thank my mother, who's the rock, who gives us the encouragement both on and off the basketball court. And lastly, I'd like to thank my brother, who taught me how to compete. I would like to then thank my high school basketball coach, T. Gary White. He was a very positive influence. He taught us how to win, and he always said, don't be afraid to be great. Last of all, I'd like to thank KMA Radio. KMA Radio was a steadfast in our family and throughout the entire Southwest Iowa growing up. Every Friday night, we listened to KMA Radio after the games for the score report. It is a pleasure for me to be here tonight to accept this award on behalf of KMA. I couldn't have done it by myself without the love and support of my friends, family, coaches, and administration. I'd like to wish everyone tonight a very Merry Christmas and God bless.
Up next, Clarinda's own Sandy Kirchner. Kirchner is one of just 4 players in Clarinda history to earn 2 All-State nods in volleyball. The 6'3" Kirchner used her size well in earning an All-State choice in her junior and senior seasons. She also played basketball throughout high school, was a state qualifier in the high jump as well. Kirchner went on to play 4 years of collegiate volleyball and 2 years of basketball at the next level, earning all GPAC multiple times in volleyball, and was an NAIA All-American Honorable Mention in basketball. To welcome Sandy into the KMA Sports Hall of Fame, her sister, Rachel Miller.
My name is Rachel Miller. It is my pleasure to introduce my younger sister and best friend, Sandy Kirchner, to this year's KMA Sports Hall of Fame. Growing up, Sandy was always the laughing, daring, adrenaline junkie kid of our family. She'd make swings over ditches, find places to jump our bikes or four-wheelers from, and push everyone out of their comfort zone. That translated into athletics as well. She'd make her teammates laugh, which made them feel comfortable with her leading them, and then she would push them to be better, to move outside of their comfort zone. And in doing so, they found success. During our 2 years of high school, sister competition wasn't always friendly competition, but it did drive us to work harder and to compete at a high level. She joined me at Concordia University, Nebraska, and for 2 years, we played together as the starting middle blockers for the Bulldogs. After her final year of volleyball at College of St. Mary, her volleyball coach invited us to play on a women's club team together, and we continued to compete at a high level. Now we resort to 1 or 2 tournaments a year together, but I am thankful for every opportunity that we have to play. I know that athletics help shape her work ethic, her will to succeed, her ability to be a great leader and a teammate, and now that daring, laughing, adrenaline junkie kid is an amazing nurse practitioner, working every day to save lives in the trauma unit. It is my honor to welcome Sandy Kirshner to this year's Hall of Fame.
Hi there, my name is Sandy Kirshner, and I'd like to thank you for selecting me to be a part of KMA's Sports Hall of Fame. Sports have truly developed me into the person I am today. They have taught me to persevere through the tough times, not to expect anything without a lot of hard work, how to work cohesively as a team, and how to be a leader. I obviously could not have been successful without my many coaches and my teammates. I still remember showing up early mornings to the weight room, hot 2-a-day preseason practices, and running lines until we all wanted to throw up. But we did it together, we pushed each other, laughed a lot, and created some amazing memories and friendships. I also have to thank my family members for the athlete I've become. From an early age, our parents taught us about determination, hard work, never quitting, respect, and of course competition, which is probably why Rachel and I had that not so friendly competition period in high school. This allowed me to succeed not only as a high school athlete, but to continue my athletic career in college. My parents were and truly are still my biggest fans. Although at times I'm sure my dad's pep talks did not always come across that way. I can't put into words how much I appreciate the opportunities they've allowed me to have and the resilience they instilled in me growing up. In these crazy times of COVID, it's nice to have something to celebrate. Although it may not be in the most ordinary or desired ways, I appreciate this. So thank you. I'm honored.
One of the greatest defensive players in KMA land basketball history, Kayla Lindenmeyer-Launis, is the Bedford school record holder in steals in a game, in a season, and in a career. And she helped the Bulldogs advance farther than any basketball team in school history. The two-time All-Stater in 2012 and 13, Launis led Bedford to state in 11 and 12 with a state runner-up finish in 2012. Launis was also an All-State choice by the Iowa Girls Coaches Association in volleyball and won 5th place medals in the long jump twice at the state track and field meet. She would later play basketball and volleyball at Mid-America Nazarene. To help us welcome Kayla into this year's Hall of Fame, her father, John.
First of all, I want to thank Derek Martin and KMA for the time and effort, the research that goes into an award like this. And to the people in the KMA area, KMA land, you're blessed to have a radio station that is willing to go out and broadcast high school sports, present awards such as this, and just go through every sport and allow you to enjoy the high school moments that your kids have throughout the state. And it's kind of rare. I know where we live now, you can't find anything like this, and this is just a special place. And because of that, I want to thank Derek and Ryan and Brian Clark in the past and people like that have extended their time and efforts to all of us as parents of the kids in KMA land. When Kayla asked me to introduce her, I'm sure she was took back a little bit because it caught me by surprise. And my initial reaction was, why me? I didn't understand. I guess I thought of all the coaches she had. She had Tim Gallagher in track all those years, and she had Kenny Weed and Donnie and Jeremy Nally and Chris Kaler in basketball, and Deb Bond and Lori Weller. and many others, throughout the years that. But then the more I thought about it, she, how would she choose? So I am very honored to be here to introduce her to you and go through some of the moments in her life that stand out to me, over the last 26 years. When Kayla was born in November of 1994, she already had 2 older brothers. And her mom and I were definitely hoping for a girl. And Carrie, my wife, made it known to the doctor that a 3rd boy was absolutely not an option. So it was no surprise when the doctor came back not wanting to disappoint my wife and told her that she hit the lottery and that we had a daughter. From that point on, Kayla was just full of energy, and she was one of those girls that was always trying to keep up with her brothers, whether it was throwing a softball or a baseball, or whether it was throwing a frisbee or jumping on the trampoline. Any way it was, wherever the boys were, she was with them, trying to compete in her own way, even though she was quite a bit younger. In 1998, our family moved to Bedford, Iowa, from Southern California. That's where the real adventure began. Kayla was introduced to track at her older brother's elementary track meets when they were in 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. At the time, she wasn't in school yet, but she'd go down there and get on the track and run around. And really, she'd run around on that track for the next 14 years until she got to be a senior. And I think she was 4 years old when she went to her first track meet and was introduced to it. She ran down the runway and long jumped. She ran hurdles, mini sprint, relays, and so on. In all, in her high school career, she qualified for 13 events over the 4 years for the state track meet and wound up with 2 medals in the long jump. Kayla was introduced to volleyball in middle school, and Kayla just grew to love volleyball quite a bit. She was a starter all 4 years for her Bedford high school team, and she had all conference honors both her junior and senior year. Kayla's teammates amassed a record of 116, 35, and 3 at Bedford the 4 years she played for them. She finished her 4-year career with 782 kills, 355 assists, 89 blocks, 670 digs, and 181 aces. Her kill efficiency of .391 her senior year set the school record. She went on to play volleyball at Mid-American Nazarene University in Olathe, Kansas, and is currently an assistant coach for the Gardner-Edgerton School District in Gardner, Kansas. Kayla was introduced to basketball by her father. I was the boys' assistant basketball coach at the time in Bedford from 1999 to 2003. So when Kayla was 5 or 6, she would tag along with her brothers as we'd go to the gym. And as they were honing their skills and working on certain drills and things, she would tag along and try to participate as well, even though she was quite a bit younger. At Bedford, she was a 4-year starter, and she was the captain all 4 years. Her teammates won 84 games in those 4 years. Kayla ended her career with 1,019 points, 313 rebounds, 237 assists, and 459 steals. She holds several Bedford records, 13 free throws in a game, 13 steals in a game. Her 171 steals in one season is a record there, as well as her career 459 steals. Kayla was named first team all-conference her freshman, junior, and senior years, and she was second team in her sophomore year. During her time in high school, Bedford made it to the state tournament her sophomore and junior years, and her teammates captured Bedford's first state win her junior year as they made it all the way to the championship game before losing to North Mahaska. She was named to the 1A All-Tournament team that tournament, and she was named All-State her junior and senior year by the INA. Kayla signed a letter of intent to play basketball at Mid-American Nazarene University in Olathe, Kansas, where she played her freshman year, and then switched to volleyball her sophomore, junior, and senior years. That's where she graduated from. Please let me introduce my daughter in KMA's selection for their Hall of Fame, Kayla Lindenmeyer.
Good evening. Thank you so much for this nomination into the KMA Hall of Fame. It truly is such an amazing honor. I want to thank Derek Martin and KMA Land for putting this event on and giving us a little bit of something to look forward to in 2020 during this difficult time. There are a ton of amazing inductees and people that are worthy of this honor. So once again, just thank you so much for thinking of me. Next, I would like to thank my coaches, Kenny Lee, Jeremy Nally, Chris Kaler, Deb Bond, Carmen Purdue, Lori Weller. All of you had such an amazing impact on my career. Tim Gallagher on my track career. He actually coached me through middle school cross country for a little while and then into high school track, and he was always just such a positive, amazing person. So thank you so much to all of those coaches. Next, I want to give a special thank you to my family and my younger sister, who is drug all over to watch all of my basketball, volleyball games and my track meets. She probably complained a few times, but she really was a trooper, and I'm just very thankful for your support, Carly, and I'm so looking forward to all the amazing things that you will do in your college career as a little track superstar. I would also like to thank my two older brothers who have always been such an amazing support to me and have come to all of my games, and even when they were in college, they would still come back and watch me. That meant a lot to me. They're amazing mentors. I want to thank my mom, who, I know I'm being biased, but she's the nicest person on the planet. She has the most generous heart and loving heart, and Mom, I love you so much, and I'm just so thankful for everything that you've done for me and the impact that you have made on my life. Dad, thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. Starting out at the ripe age of 5 years old and starting to dribble a basketball, and because my older brothers were doing it. But you have coached me my whole life. You are such a positive influence and support, and just that voice of reason for me when I'm making difficult decisions. So thank you so much for everything that you've done for me. I want to thank my teammates in high school and in college. I got to play with an amazing group of girls, some who are still and will always be lifelong friends, some who I've known my whole life. Growing up in a small town, it made it really easy to connect with a lot of different people, and thank you to the community of Bedford. It's a small town, like I said, but the support and the love is enormous, and I would not be the person that I am without that community. So thank you so much. I truly feel so honored to receive this award, and thank you so much.
One of the best distance runners in KMA land history and the best Matheny I know, Lennox alum Brenda Matheny Thatcher won a pair of cross-country championships and 3 track titles in her career. Thatcher won the 1984 and 85 cross-country titles, captured the 3,000 in the 86 and 87 years, and the 1,500 in 87 as well. Thatcher touts 11 state track medals and 4 in cross country, while also playing forward in 6-on-6 basketball, and was an all-conference and all-state honorable mention player in softball. After Lennox, Thatcher went to Baylor and ran 1 year of cross country and track before injuries and homesickness led her to transfer to the University of Iowa. To help us welcome Brenda into this year's class, a very legendary runner in his own right, and her former coach, Mark Scahill.
First off, I would like to thank Derek and KMA Radio for hosting this event and for asking me to be a part of this ceremony. This is no small undertaking, and I appreciate all your time and energy to make this event happen. I was in the education field for 39 years and coached cross country and track for over 30 years. I was fortunate to have outstanding athletes that received or achieved state champion status at St. Albert's, West Marshall, Ankeny, and Lenox High School. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the most versatile distance runner I ever coached. I had the privilege to coach Brenda Matheny during my 5 years at Lenox High School in the mid-1980s. She was a great athlete, as you know, but she was equally talented as a student and as a musician. Brenda's many talents were exemplified because of her strong work ethic, as she was willing to do the work that needed to be done to continue to improve, whatever the task. I always believed that her musical ability and her rhythm helped her while racing on the track. Before each race, we would always discuss splits of what we wanted her to hit in terms of continuing to improve her time overall. Brenda was able to hit these predetermined splits on a consistent basis in all three distances, the 800, the 1500, and the 3,000 meter run. This ability served her well as she went undefeated her sophomore year, winning a string of 32 races from the combined cross-country and track season until the string was broken when she placed fourth in the 800 at the state meet that spring. I also coached the boys and girls cross-country teams at Lenox, and that provided Brenda the opportunity to train with the guys on many workouts. She was always up for the challenge, never complained, because she knew it would only make her a better runner. She often ran in the front with the lead group. As I think back of all the many races that Brenda ran, to me the most memorable one was her first state cross-country meet. That was the fall of 1984. Brenda was a freshman. She'd won a few races that season, but she was still somewhat of an unknown. She didn't take the lead in that race until the second mile. And at that point, she started to pull away from another runner who had beat her earlier in the season by 6 seconds. On that day, Brenda was the winner with an 8-second victory and her first state cross-country title. At the conclusion of her running career at Lenox High School, Brenda had accumulated 12 Tall Corn Conference track titles, a combined 16 district titles in track and cross-country, and 5 state titles. 2 in cross-country, 2 at the 3,000 meter run, and 1 1,500 meter run. After graduating from Lenox, Brenda went on to Baylor and ran for 1 year. After that, she transferred back to Iowa and attended the University of Iowa. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Brenda Matheny Thatcher.
Hi, this is Brenda Matheny Thatcher, and I just want to thank KMA and Derek and anybody who had anything to do with this award. It's just it's a very nice way to be remembered after all these years. I'm surprised anybody remembers who I am, so I really do appreciate that. And also, when you do something like this, or when you're pretty good at something, it's usually because you have a good supporting cast, and I definitely had a very good supporting cast of people around me, starting with Coach Scahill. He was a very good coach. I was so blessed to have him as a coach. He really cared about each and every one of us. He instilled confidence in us. He made us believe that we could do something even when we didn't believe that we could do something. Sometimes he would give us these splits and we'd be like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? And then you'd go out and do it. So it was just, he just had a way about him of doing that and making you realize, oh my gosh, I can do this, and I can do better. And without him, I don't think our team would have done as well. I know I wouldn't have done as well. I was just very, very blessed to have a very good coach. And also in the other sports, I had Coach Johnson and Coach Peterson, and they helped me in those sports and helped me make the athlete that I was. And also, Scahill he cared. It came down to he just cared. I know my freshman year after I got done with the race, I had people tell me that, because during the race, he's running around trying to meet everybody up through the course. And at the end of the race, I was coming down the finish line, and he wanted to see me cross the finish line. So he was the coach that was on the ground crawling through everybody's legs and feet and everything to get to the finish line to see me cross the finish line. And that to me just shows how much he cared and everything. And also I want to thank all my teammates. I had the best long distance running buddies or gals. And also a big shout out to all the guys that were on cross country and track and stuff too, because they encouraged us on and cheered us on too. But for my running friends, I had Heather and Lisa and Leanne and Gina and Joni and Tracy and Chantel and Steph and Renee and Steph, of course, Steph. Steph was my best friend. She literally was with me almost every step of the way in cross country and track. And I couldn't have done it without her either. A lot of times we could go 1 and 2, and we encouraged each other, we pushed each other, we put confidence in each other, and we just talked each other up even when neither one of us were thinking we could do it. And so I just thank Steph so very much. And her sister Chantel was a huge cheerleader for me and Steph. She was there all the time rooting us on and telling us we could do this and putting confidence in us also. She was the best. And also a big shout out to my mom and dad. I think they missed the very first track meet that I did in junior high, and then they never missed another event I did, whether it was sports or band or anything. They never missed anything. And also a big shout out to my mom. She is and always what will be my biggest cheerleader. She's the one that was, a lot of times when I was running, she was riding the bike beside me or riding a moped beside me, or if it was really cold, she was the one that was driving the car, and she'd drive up beside me every once in a while. Are you cold? Do you need to get in the car? Are you sure? You know, and she also, I have drugged her to, I've drugged my mom and John to many road races. And my mom, if I would call her up and say, we're going to a road race this weekend, she'd be the first one saying, you got this, let's go do this, you know, and she would be right there with me. That's just the way she is. So thank you, Mom, from the bottom of my heart. I love you so much. And also a big shout out to my husband and my boys, Nathan and Nick. I have drugged all of them to many, many road races also, and they've encouraged me, they've cheered me on. They give me that time to run, because for me, running was something that I really enjoyed doing. When I was growing up, I got to be with my friends. It was fun. We made the best of it. We made the most of it. It was wonderful, but it also became part of who I am. So I really do thank them for letting me do something that I really enjoy. And last but not least, the town of Lenox. It's a very nice community, tight-knit community. They would bring out the fire trucks. We got to ride around town when we got back from our state meets and stuff. And if I'd meet somebody on the streets, they would always be like, hey, good job, or when's your next race? They were very, very encouraging. It was just a nice community to be a part of, and I wouldn't trade growing up in Lenox for anything. And last but not least, another shout out to KMA and Derek. Thank you so very much. I do appreciate it. It's something I always cherish. Thank you for remembering me. Everybody take care, have a good Christmas, and thank you so very much. Thanks.
This year's KMA Sports Hall of Fame Eberly Family Legacy Award winner is legendary Harlan head basketball coach Mitch Osborne. The 1980 Walnut graduate got his first coaching job right out of college at Elkhorn-Kimballton, and in 1989, Coach Osborne was on to state for the first time. He led them again in the 1990 tournament before moving out of the area to Pomeroy Palmer, where he went to multiple state tournaments and won the 1994 state championship. A move back to the area came in 1998 when he took over the Harlan program. He quickly jump-started an incredible 22-year run at the school, coaching basketball and putting together a great career as the school's athletic director up to the end of the 2018-19 year. With a trip to last year's state tournament, Osborne has now guided 19 teams to state and has won over 700 career games. As an AD, he oversaw 14 state championships, 18 state runners-up, and 50-plus teams that qualified for state tournaments. To present this year's KMA Sports Hall of Fame Eberly Family Legacy Award to Coach Osborne, a member of the Eberly family, and Clarinda head basketball coach Rod Eberly.
Hello. When Derek Martin asked me to do the KMA Land Legacy Award for this year's 2020 recipient, I was very honored and humbled. I first met Coach Mitch Osborne back in 1999. I was a volunteer assistant basketball coach under B.J. Windhorst here in Clarinda. As a young coach, 24 at the time, I remember watching Coach Osborne and how he carried himself and interacted with his players and coaches. There was a confidence and competitiveness in him that reminded me of someone else very close to me, my dad. That left a very strong impression on me. Throughout the last 20 years, I've also watched 3 of Osborne's sons coach and carry on the same tradition that their father had. Of course, being a coach's son myself, I was blessed to watch and observed those dynamics inside a family setting that the Osbornes seem to share. Mitch, along with his wife Nancy, have been pillars for the Harlan community and have had a profound impact on Harlan and the Harlan Community Schools. Not to mention the over 700 career wins and state titles on the court and being an exceptional AD off the court. I've always viewed and observed Coach Osborne as someone willing to mentor and build relationships, not just in basketball, but in life. I'm very humbled and proud to present this year's KMA Land Eberly Legacy Award to Coach Mitch Osborne and family. Congratulations, Coach.
This is Mitch Osborne, Harlan Community High School boys basketball coach and retired athletic director, activities director. First of all, this is a tremendous honor, getting the Merle and Pat Eberly Memorial Award, Hall of Fame Award. It's a tremendous. Merle and Pat have just done a terrific job with all youth sports throughout all the years. The Clarinda A's, the baseball program. So it's just a tremendous honor to be. I've been fortunate to win awards, but this one means the world to me. Merrill, may he rest in peace. He always came up and talked to me for every basketball game. We're at Clarinda. He'd also make the road trip up to watch his grandson BJ coaching, and then his son Rod coaching. And that's why it means a lot to me. And Pat would give me the warmest hugs pre-game, and we'd have great conversations. But their legacy is living on through BJ coaching at West Des Moines Valley, Rod currently coaching at Clarinda, and all he's done with the baseball program there and the basketball program. I need to also thank KMA. Derek, you do a great job. Coached against you when you were a player, and you were a great competitor, and you were a great broadcaster and doing a great job at KMA. I'd like to thank all the current players and former players I've coached throughout the years at Elkhorn Kimballton, Pomeroy Palmer, and Harlan Community. Same with all the parents and all my assistant coaches I've had the pleasure to coach with and work with. And the same way as being an activities director, all the coaches I've been able to work with and impact their lives, and they've impacted mine. In fact, all the players I've coached and the same way with the coaches, they've probably had a bigger impact on my life than I think I've had on theirs. And it's been a great run. I'm in my 37th year of coaching. And like I said, this award here means the world to me, especially coming from the Eberly family. And Pat, can't wait to see you again in person. And we're going to have a great hug when we get to do that. So once again, KMA and the Eberly family, I'd like to thank you so much for this wonderful award.
There's an argument to be made that Atlantic's Tiffany Pedersen Dressler is the single greatest all-around female athlete in KMA land history. Dressler won 15 state track medals and 12 state championships, including 6 individual titles in her career. She was the 100-meter hurdles champion all 4 years of high school, picked up 2 in the long jump, and also ran for 6 winning relays. Atlantic won state team titles all 4 years of her high school career. The 16-time Hawkeye 10 Conference gold medalist, Dressler was the Drake Relay's outstanding high school female in her senior year and won the 100 hurdles and sprint medley relay championships. She also was an accomplished volleyball, basketball, and softball player, earning all-state honors in all 3 sports and pushing the Trojans to state in basketball in 1999 and 2001. To help us welcome Tiffany into the KMA Sports Hall of Fame, her father, Larry Pedersen.
Hi, I'm Larry Pedersen, and I'm here to introduce my daughter, Tiffany Pedersen, into the KMA Hall of Fame, which she's very proud and honored to be involved and even nominated. I guess I'm not really here, but I'm sending a video to introduce her anyway. As a kid, growing up, Tiffany was a hard worker, and we never really had any problems with her at all doing schoolwork or anything. And her biggest contribution, I think, was her competitiveness. She loved to compete. And matter of fact, we had to do away with board games at home because her older siblings and her, it got out of hand several times. So we had to stop playing games. I coached her in softball and in track and in basketball in her grade school years. And again, she worked hard and was very competitive, and as soon as she stepped on the field or the court, she was there to win. no matter what. She put everything into it. She didn't leave anything on the floor. She played it all. I remember once in a basketball game, an AAU basketball game, the team wasn't playing very well, so I pulled her out of the game, and she gave me a dirty look when she came to the bench. Well, I called the timeout shortly thereafter, and the team came over, and I started yelling directly at her, and it caught their attention, and they went out and won the game by 20 points or more. So, but she gave me, and she still talks to me about that today, why I had to be so mean to her. But I think she understands now that sometimes you got to do what you got to do. In track, and her AAU teams, or AAU, when she ran track in grade school, she won a lot of state meets and regional meets, and her brother even took her to Wisconsin one year for a meet. So she worked hard and did well, and I was teaching her how to do the long jump, and she wasn't getting very high. And so I said, okay, and I put a hurdle out before the pit. She had to jump over the hurdle to get to the pit. And from that point on, she got the idea that height is what's going to get me the distance. So with her speed that she had, that was a good success, because her very first meet, we weren't sure. She was an indoor meet down at Lamoni, and the coach came up to me. I was in the stands. We didn't get there right at the start of it. He came up to me, Coach Henderson, and said, "Hey, Tiff just broke the school long jump record." I go, "What?" He says, "Yep, she just broke the school long jump record." So, and I think she broke it 2 or 3 times her high school career. So it must have worked, the hurdle, and she still thanks me, but talks to people about it all the time. Her high school career, she was very strong in every sport that she did. Like I said, she was out there to win. As soon as she stepped foot on the court or the meet or floor or whatever field, she was there to win. And I think her biggest accomplishment that she agrees with is that her 14 gold medals in conference meets. 16 gold medals. Sorry. Yeah, she had 16 gold medals in the conference in her high school career. And she went on to many gold medals at state, and total medals at state. So she had a good career in track, but I think her best sport was softball. And at softball, after her sophomore year, she came up to her mom and dad, and she asked if she could not go out next year. I says, "Is that what you really want to do?" She says, "Yeah. You know, I work all year long in school and in sports, and I just like to be a kid for part of the summer." I said, "Hey, whatever you want to do, that's great." And I think it made a difference, because she really focused in on her other sports her junior and senior years. In college, she went on to the University of Iowa and starred there. They made her a multi-event person, because she did well in everything. So they made her multi-event, and she placed every year in the indoor meets, and she also placed every year in the outdoor meets. And her highest finish, I think, was 3rd place all conference her junior year. So she did quite well in high school and college, and I'm very proud of her, and her mom and I are very proud of her, and her siblings that she competed with. So that's all I have to say, and I'm very proud of her. So here's Tiff.
Hello, I'm Tiffany Dressler. You guys probably know me as Tiffany Pedersen. I'm from Atlantic, and first I'd like to thank Derek Martin and KMA for this wonderful acknowledgement and recognition. It's a beautiful award that I received, and I appreciate it very much. Second, I'd like to thank my family. I probably haven't done that enough in the past, and thank them for everything that they've done for me and supported me throughout my school years, whether it was high school, college. I really appreciate the sacrifices that my mom and dad made in order to be at all of my meets, my basketball games, my softball games, volleyball. They were always there and my biggest supporters. They always made sure that I had everything that I needed to participate in my sporting events, and worked very hard in order to provide for my siblings and myself. So thank you, Mom and Dad, for everything. My dad, who introduced me, so thanks, Dad, was one of my coaches, actually my very first coach, as far as teaching me about softball and basketball. He was my AAU coach in basketball. He was my T-ball coach. And he used to take me to our old track and work on hurdles and long jump with me. One of my most vivid memories is my dad taking me to the track and putting a wooden hurdle, because back then they were wooden, in front of the long jump pit, and telling me that I needed to jump over that and into the pit. Mind you, I was very young, so in order for me to get over that hurdle, it was going to take a lot, and if I didn't, I was going to have scraped knees and shins. I learned very quickly to jump over that hurdle. So my dad had a great attitude and a lot of patience with me as a kid, and taught me so much. I hope that I'm able to do that with my own family. As I've gotten older here, I've realized how important family has been for me, and I feel very blessed and fortunate that I had such a supportive family, and I just can't say enough about the sacrifices that they made for me. My husband, Nate Dressler, by the way, I have to say go Hawks today, as my husband is from Wisconsin, and he is a big Badger fan, so our house is very divided. So today was a great win for the Hawkeyes. And I just want to thank him, because he shows me every day what it means to work hard and sacrifice for our family. We own a construction company, and he puts in very long hours in order for me to be able to stay home with our kids and to be here for everything for them. My son's already playing travel baseball, and my daughter loves gymnastics. So we are already going all the time, and I'm very fortunate that I'm able to be here for them, the same way my parents were there for me. So I definitely appreciate, and he inspires me to be better every day and to work hard. And I hope our kids are able to see that in both of their parents, the same way I saw the way my parents worked hard and sacrificed for us. I'd like to thank my coaches, especially Coach Bruce Henderson, Coach Barb Olson, Coach Don Jenkins, and the late Coach Jimmy Grant that I had at Iowa. Coach Henderson always knew exactly who to put where to score the most points at every meet, which is why I firmly believe that we won state all 4 years that I was in high school. He's just a very intelligent man that knew a lot about track and the strategies. Coach Barb Olson, we had a lot of fun. She was my hurdle coach, and we were able to I learned a lot from her, and I worked very hard, and she was able to push me to do better every practice, every meet. Coach Jenkins, he was my basketball coach, and he's one of the most amazing coaches I've ever been around. He knows how to get everything out of every player that he's ever coached. And I thank him for working us so hard. I have a lot of respect for him, and I hope my kids are fortunate enough someday to have coaches like I had when I was a kid. My college coach, Jim Grant, he passed away a couple years ago, but I am very thankful to him for giving me the opportunity and for him recruiting me and giving me a chance to go to Iowa and have a pretty successful year at Iowa. I was an all Big Ten performer my junior year, and I placed at every meet. So I appreciate everything that he did for me and giving me the opportunity to run at Iowa. Lastly, I want to dedicate my award to my mom. I'm hoping that a lot of my strength and perseverance and hardworking attitude comes from her. She battled breast cancer over 10 years ago and beat that. And in January, she was diagnosed with stage 4 ovarian cancer. And I'm proud to say that she is in remission. And throughout everything, throughout treatments, she has been very strong and very positive. And I hope that my kids are able to see how tough their grandma is and how much I appreciate everything that she has done and what she has taught me about being a great mom and person and working hard and always supporting me. So, Mom, keep fighting the fight, and Merry Christmas to everyone. Thank you.
A 17-time letter winner with Red Oak, Paige Spangenberg-Baumert marks the first mother-daughter combination of Hall of Famers. Known mostly for her volleyball exploits, Baumert was a 3-time All-State choice in 2003, 4, and 5, and led 3 teams to state. She also played basketball, softball, and tennis, and earned all-conference honors in the Hawkeye 10 total times. Baumert went on to a Division I scholarship at Wichita State, then transferred to Northwest Missouri State, where she went down as arguably the greatest libero to ever play at Northwest. To help us welcome Paige into this year's class, her mother, former coach, and a KMA Sports Hall of Fame original, Angie Spangenberg.
Hi, I'm Angie Spangenberg. I'm Paige's mom, and I was also her high school volleyball coach. So this is like take 427. Seriously, and if you knew the videographer, thank you, Randy. He's only accidentally dialed 911 one time so far. So anyway, thank you so much to KMA, to the committee. Special thank you to Derek Martin for honoring Paige with this special award, and it is a very special award. So thank you. I try to think back. Paige was probably 2 when I first started coaching as a head volleyball coach at Red Oak High School. And those memories really have to do with her being pushed around the ball cart by a great bunch of kids who spent time with her and helped take care of her, and she loved being with them. She really grew up like a lot of coaches' kids in gyms and at baseball fields. My husband Randy was a head baseball coach, assistant baseball coach, and of course our boys, Jared and Brock, played baseball. And also swimming pool. She swam competitively at a young age. So when she was in kindergarten, and I'm not going to take forever to tell her life story, but she would come to the high school after school and ride the bus there, and so would Brock. And she would get her crayons out of my classroom and her colored pencils and her coloring books, her fruit snacks and her juice boxes and whatever was in there. And then she'd head to the gym and try and sneak in the hitting line. So it's pretty obvious because she was like 3 feet tall, and try and get the players, my team, to pepper with her whenever we were doing warm-ups. She competed in 5 sports, and she earned letters in all of them year after year, beginning in 8th grade when she was the starting catcher for the softball team. And I remember her saying to my husband and I that she was going to be the catcher, that she was going to start in 8th grade, and we were like, yeah, okay, right. And we didn't buy her a catcher's mitt. And so for a couple of years, Coach Riddell provided her with a catcher's mitt, and then we kind of figured out she was serious about it and bought her the catcher's mitt. But that's kind of how she competed, and that's how really she was driven to reach her goals. Her brothers, Jared and Brock, pushed her. They teased her. And I think they are extremely proud of her, and they take pride in her accomplishments, but also, pushed her like only big brothers can do. She played big. She always played bigger than what she was. She was is 5'7", and you do not have long legs, Paige. Your legs are not long. But she always played like she was 6'7", and she always played with lots of heart. I told her from the very beginning that in volleyball it had to be very obvious why she was on the court. You had to play, and you had to earn that right to be on the court every time you stepped on it. And I feel like she did do that. We always had a deal that we would discuss whatever was going on in volleyball or after a particular match after it was over and in the gym, and she and I, or in my classroom, wherever it was. But when she got home, home was home, and her go-to person was her dad, Randy, and she kind of bit to him probably about the coach, but they had lots of good talks. I really want to mention her teammates and Paige. Those kids were all good friends, and they had a lot of fun. You could hear them. You know, my classroom was the locker room, the same room that Paige would go to get her fruit snacks when she was in kindergarten, became our locker room. And, you know, those girls, you could hear them when I was walking down the hall. I could always hear them, and laughing, music going, writing goals on the whiteboards, and then, you know, slamming lockers on the way to the gym after we got done talking as coaches with them. And then it was, let's compete like Red Oak Tigers compete. And, you know, that group of girls, those teams, no matter what team you're on, those are special opportunities to make those kinds of memories and to make a difference. And I feel like they did. I try to think of, there's, you know, it's like a video going through my mind, a reel of highlights of teams. And I think one memory that stands out for me, what happened to be at a state tournament, and Roxanne Lamb and I were sitting on the bench, and the girls were obviously competing, and the ball was, I don't know if it was shanked out of bounds or tipped or something, and Paige was running right at us. And Rox looked at me, and I looked at her. We grabbed our clipboards and just kind of slid over, and she took out the whole score table, and then the ball went back in play. And that's really, I feel like, how she competed, how she attacked her schoolwork academically. She just gave everything. And I'm so proud of you, Paige. I'm proud of how you competed. I'm grateful as a parent for the lessons that you learned, and I'm so proud of who you are today to so many. Okay. Congratulations. We love you.
Hi everyone, my name is Paige Spangenberg-Baumert, and I'm so honored to be selected for the KMA Sports Hall of Fame. I just wanted to take a moment to thank some individuals for all their support over the years. First, KMA and Derek Martin, thank you for always supporting the area athletes and sports programs. You've always provided such outstanding sports coverage. Thank you to the Red Oak community. There was nothing quite like game day in Red Oak, having the opportunity to play in front of the best crowd. Their continued support of their athletes and teams over the years is truly one of a kind. I want to thank my teammates. I'm so thankful for all the fun memories I have with my friends, playing sports together growing up. While the early morning practices we'd have occasionally, or the conditioning and some of the exhausting drills weren't always our favorites, we knew these things would make us better and stronger, and always had fun accomplishing them together. I'd like to thank my coaches, softball coach Jenny Riddell, basketball coach Andrea Shaven, track coach Dan Locke, tennis coach Dan Martinez, and of course my mom, and volleyball coach Angie Spangenberg. These are the ones who really deserve a lot of the credit here. They always believed in me and pushed me to be the best athlete that I could be, and I'm forever grateful for that. They all knew their game and had a passion for it, which they instilled in their athletes. They always stressed the importance of teamwork, fundamentals, working hard, and not taking shortcuts, being mentally tough, and so many other important things, all of which have certainly helped me over the years. So thank you for teaching me these lessons at a young age. Playing volleyball for my mom is something I will never forget, truly a one-of-a-kind experience in life. It's really hard to put into words just how much I admire and respect her as a person, a mom, a friend, a coach. She loves the game of volleyball, and I'm so glad she instilled that love for the game in me as a little girl. Thank you for always being the best role model for me and all of the athletes you've coached over the years. Lastly, I'd like to thank my biggest fans, my family, my parents, Randy and Angie Spangenberg, and my brothers, Jared and Brock. They've always believed in me, supported me, cheered me on, and picked me up when I needed it the most. My parents, who both worked full-time jobs and were coaches themselves, always made it a priority to get me to practices on time and make it to all my games. Today, as a parent myself, I can only imagine how tired they must have been after putting in a full day at work, followed by the late nights of chauffeuring me around to these practices and all of my games. Thanks, Mom and Dad, for always being my #1 fans and biggest supporters. Today, I'm a very busy mom of 3 kids, Jack, Liv, and Ryan, and my husband, Bo. I look forward to being their biggest supporters as my parents and brothers have been to me. Again, thank you for this award, and I hope everyone has a happy and safe holiday.
The great and legendary Essex coach Alan Stewart is up next. Stewart arrived in Essex in 1980 and quickly built up a coaching resume that rivals any during that time period. He helped lead the Essex girls basketball program to over 500 wins and the 1991 and 1993 state tournaments. The Trojanettes made it to the Final 8 in each of the all-class tournaments, which were 16 teams back then. They beat Newton in 91 and Pella in 93. I'm so excited to welcome one of my favorite human beings I've ever covered and Mr. Essex to this year's class. To help us, one of his former players and also a former KMA Land Coach of the Year, Amy McClintock.
I'd first like to say thank you to Derek Martin and the staff at KMA for covering, recognizing, and remembering athletes and coaches from past and present. Today, I'm honored to present this KMA Sports Hall of Famer. It's a great day to be an Essex Trojan, is a theme that you have probably heard or seen if you have visited the school in Essex. For Coach Alan Stewart, it was more than that. It was and is how he feels about Essex. I had the opportunity to play for Coach Stewart during the 6-on-6 era a few years ago, back in the late 80s and early 90s. Here are just a few memories that I think we could all share. He had a little red Toyota Corolla that he drove, I think, throughout his whole entire career. I'm not sure if it ever had working heat or air, but that's what he drove around town all the time. His Tennessee accent, always speaking to us without using our first name. He would say Miss and then our last name, never talking to us by first name. He also had chapstick that he probably still utilizes today, in which he would pull out and put on right before he was ready to give us some very constructive feedback during practices and games. I think Coach Alan Stewart pretty much coached every single sport at one time or another, at every grade or age level, and he was successful at every sport he coached. Most of his success coming from girls basketball and track. Every day before basketball practice, we would read a poem in unison, and I still remember the title, I Am a Winner. We read it together as a group. It was mostly about thinking positively, truly being a winner, not just in basketball, but in life. We would also sit down and write 2 to 3 personal and team goals every single day, with one of the goals always being to play in the big house, or barn, as he would call it, which was previously known as Veterans Auditorium in Des Moines, where the state tournament was played. One of my favorite memories is being part of the first Essex high school girls basketball team to ever qualify for a state tournament. We had some of the best memories that year. The community and area support was simply amazing. Along with 1991, the 1993 also qualified for state. Both teams lost in the state quarterfinals of the state tournament, making it to the Elite 8. Coach Stewart always had high expectations for everyone. I remember practices being super competitive to the point where sometimes when we left the gym, we took it with us. Scrimmaging boys every day in practice, in which they were never happy when we got done. Practice time was spent working on fundamentals, running plays, and doing drills over and over and over again until they were perfected. And as a matter of fact, I can still remember most of those plays today. Along with fundamentals and work ethic, he coached us to be very disciplined in everything we did. One thing about Coach Stewart is he's very intelligent. He always knew every opponent offense, scorers, and what it would take to beat them. He put all of his energy and intensity into practice every day, and we were always prepared for every game that we played. Aside from those memories, He's a person who lives his life with the highest of morals and values. He was a tough coach. He was hard on us. But he also taught us many valuable life lessons that we may not have understood at the time. He pours his whole self into everything he does. As an educator, coach, and former administrator, he was always one of the first to arrive and one of the last to leave every day. His family was by his side every step of the way. He spent countless hours with us in the gym every morning, during, after, and before basketball season, shooting baskets at 7:30 just so we could get better. He just had a knack for making kids better and bringing out abilities, talents, and the competitive spirit that it takes to play a team sport. He retired once in 2010, and I say that because he did retire, but he's back at it again, and he continues to give back unselfishly to the Essex School by coaching, subbing, and filling in wherever he is needed. A couple of years ago, he was literally standing on Main Street gathering signatures to help save the Essex High School. The school gymnasium is named after him, and there are many, many trophies in those cases that have his name on them from many different sports. He has coached and mentored several hundred different Trojanettes who have gone on to have great success in life. At the time, I don't think any of us really realized that the tough demands and high expectations placed upon all of us were all part of learning the necessary skills to succeed. He taught us all to set goals and work hard to achieve them, respect yourself and respect others, be disciplined in everything you do, work hard and enjoy the little things, build a strong foundation, and know that life isn't always fair or easy, but it's all part of that mental toughness that keeps you going every day. Hold yourself and others to high standards and expectations. You can be good, you can be great, but you can also be humble. Always give unselfishly and live a life full of integrity. Those are all characteristics and life lessons that I think we have all learned from Coach Stewart at one time or another, and I know that we all try to live by and teach others at least some of those life skills. So, without further ado, it is my honor to present Coach Alan Stewart as one of the newest recipients of the KMA Sports Hall of Fame. For someone who has led and continues to lead by example, I think all Trojanettes, past and present, can agree that you are very deserving of this recognition. Congratulations, Coach Stewart. It's a great day to be an Essex Trojan.
I feel very fortunate to accept this trophy on behalf of the Essex Trojanette basketball teams. There have been lots of young ladies who worked very hard, and all of them are owners in sharing this trophy with me today. We were blessed at Essex to have a lot of ladies through the years who believed in the program. They believed in each other, and they were willing to sacrifice and share their goals and dreams. Our most successful teams were those whose total was more than the sum of their parts. That only happens to those fortunate groups who have teammates who are great leaders, teammates who believe in each other, and teammates who are accountable to each other. And those groups are led by those players who make those around them better. That's a rare combination, and one that we had here in several groups, and I'm so pleased that they let me be part of their world. We've had some great ladies at Essex, way too many for me to name right here, but I'd like to mention a couple. Marge Thornburg coached with me for 21 years and was a large part of the success of the Trojanettes. And my wife, of course, who's the rock of my life, has always been there for me. And she's always been there for support and encouragement, kind of keep me grounded. She's the epitome of a perfect coach's wife. And of course, thanks to KMA, they've been there for thousands of young people to acknowledge their efforts and accomplishments. And that was brought to the attention largely by KMA. In closing, thanks to all the Trojanettes. Thanks for the thrills you've given me, to all your fans, and to each other.
Finally, we welcome one more coach. If Alan Stewart is Mr. Essex, Rod Unger is Mr. Missouri Valley, or maybe Mr. Baseball. Unger started his coaching career in the late 1970s, leading the Missouri Valley Youth Program. By 1990, he was coaching at the high school level for the first time and compiled 450 wins during his career leading up to 2017. During that career, Missouri Valley won 20 Western Iowa Conference regular season or tournament baseball championships. He spent over 4 decades coaching baseball in Missouri Valley and raised 3 fantastic softball-playing daughters, along with his wife. To welcome Coach Unger into this year's KMA Sports Hall of Fame, his former coaching confidant, Jim Long.
Hello, I'm Jim Long. I would like to begin by thanking KMA for producing this program, for all the support they've given athletics in southwestern Iowa, and for sponsoring the KMA Hall of Fame. In the early 70s, I was fortunate enough to team up with Rod, and we coached baseball in Missouri Valley for many years. Over the years, we built a program in the Little League, progressed up through the Legion program, and then into the high school program. I retired in the late 90s. Rod continued to coach for over 40 years in Missouri Valley. During that time, he was not only responsible for building the program, but he was responsible for the facilities that we now play on now, which are beautiful. During that time, there was no off season for Rod. He was either working on the program, he's working to help the athletes, he's trying to increase his knowledge of the game, or working on the facilities. His dedication to me was totally amazing. We have been very fortunate in this town. We've had a lot of support. We've had a lot of fine athletes. But all this dedication comes at a price. Rod and Cindy, his wife, were blessed with 3 daughters, Krista, Kara, and Kayla. All 3 were exceptional softball players. Unfortunately for Rod, he very seldom got to see his girls play in high school. Now, anyone that's ever coached or had a child play athletics and had to miss a game, you can imagine how he felt over those years not being able to watch them play. To me, that is just an amazing amount of dedication. We have been very fortunate. We've been blessed with a lot of fine athletes that turned into very good young men. And I think a reason for a lot of that is because of Rod. Ironically, a lot of these young men would tell you that their favorite sport is baseball. And I truly believe that the reason behind that is Rod, because of what he taught them. He not only taught them how to be successful, he instilled in them a sense of pride and be part of a program that was quality. And this carried over into the other programs in the system. Rod's 4 cornerstones of his program, to me, I believe there are 4 things. First of all, sportsmanship, mandatory. Anybody that's worked with Rod, worked for Rod, played for Rod, coached against him, knows that Rod is truly a gentleman on and off the field. Secondly, fundamentals. We had to be fundamentally sound. He may not have had the best talent in the field all the time, but there was never a time when a team was better prepared than Rod's teams. Third, they had to compete. There's a big difference between working hard and competing. Rod was able to instill in these kids the will to compete, not just in the games, but in practice. And fourth, but not least, we wanted our kids to not only know the game of baseball, but to understand the game of baseball. And to me, those are the 4 cornerstones of his philosophy and what made him so successful. He would be the first person to give everyone else credit for all his success. All his success and accomplishments speak for themselves. It is truly an honor, a pleasure to present to you for induction into the Hall of Fame, not only a great coach, but a better friend, Mr. Rod Unger.
It's an honor for me to be getting inducted in the KMA Hall of Fame along with the other inductees. I'd like to thank Derek Martin and KMA Radio for this prestigious award. There are many people I'd like to thank, first being my wife and my 3 daughters for all the support they gave me over the years. I especially want to thank my wife Cindy for all the things she did for me while I was coaching, like keeping book and taking over my parenting duties while I spent long days and late nights at the baseball field. I also want to thank my dear friend Jim Long, whom I coached with for more than 30 years. I had a high school coach who was a great mentor. Wally Wielander was my baseball and basketball coach and PE teacher at West Harrison. I really admired Coach Wielander because he was a great role model, and because of this, I knew I wanted to be a coach. Back in the 70s, the only way I could become a coach was for me to become a teacher. So becoming a teacher provided me with that opportunity. I started my coaching career right out of college, coaching youth and Legion baseball teams in Missouri Valley. From that moment on, Missouri Valley baseball became a passion for me. Like they say, time flies when you're having fun, and before I knew it, I was coaching sons of former players. During my 42 years, baseball was never work because I was having too much fun teaching the fundamentals and the aspects of the game. I tried to use the game of baseball to teach the kids some of life's lessons, including respect, teamwork, commitment, and that winning does not always come easy. I always told the kids if they did their part of the game correctly, the score will take care of itself. My favorite part of the game is when everything came together and the kids played well and had fun. I've been very fortunate to work with and surround myself with great players and great people on my coaching staff. Most of my coaching staff consisted of former players of mine, Brent Hansen, Ryan Knott, Jamie Fouts, and Josh York, and I want to thank all of you. I am grateful for the many years I was able to contribute to the Missouri Valley baseball program. The most important thing to me during those years was the long-lasting friendships I made with my former players, my coaching staff, umpires, coaching peers from the opposing teams. Once again, I would like to give special thanks to KMA Radio and Derek Martin for this honor.
Those are the members of the 2020 KMA Sports Hall of Fame, our 5th Hall of Fame class, full of stars, full of legendary figures, and full of great, great people. Also, thank you to all of them, as well as the many presenters that made this video come together. Most of all, maybe not most of all, but this video wouldn't be made without him. Thank you to Ryan Matheny as well for putting this video together. If you ever see him around, give him a big hi-ho and say Brenda Matheny was actually the best Matheny in sports. But making videos, nobody's better than Ryan Matheny. Thanks again for tuning in to tonight's KMA Sports Hall of Fame virtual presentation. We had a lot of fun doing it, but I think everybody will agree, let's never do it again.